Hi, so I'm going to discuss a project that I've been working on in 2019, the goal of which is to be able to quickly and easily set up a static website for a restaurant or a bar or any other small business really. So I'm going to run through the setup of an example website, which will ultimately be on this domain. If I refresh, you can see currently there's nothing there at the moment. And during that time, I'll talk about the architecture and the technologies I've been using. So before we get started on the setup, I'll give a brief overview of the architecture, and that's having multiple businesses. I'm going to have a database with that variable data stored in it. It's a SQL database, you'll see shortly, and that data is accessed via a web API call over HTTP to this service that I've written, and that's using C#. It's a backend web API, which is where I really have a lot of experience. Then there's also a front end. The website code is written, it's using the React framework, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but I've enjoyed writing anyway. And that website will call the APIs, but really for a static website you don't want to be calling the APIs, you want to have the data stored locally. So there's an additional executable, which is the builder, which collects the JSON data from the API calls, stores it locally, and then makes it accessible for the website. So we'll get going on the setup. I have a Google Sheet which essentially converts the data that we put in into a SQL query, which at the moment won't work because it's empty, but we'll get through that. So I'll start filling in some data. I've decided I'm going to make a pub called the Walsall, because Walsall is where I'm from. So I'll just start putting that data in. And we're going to need a Google Map embed URL, because one of the parts of the page is an embedded map. So I'll just pick something. Alright, so that's converted all that data into a SQL query. So if I just open up a new query in here, just need to fix that slight formatting error and then run it, and we get an ID for our new restaurant. You can see that this database is stored locally, and I've done that recently because before I was using AWS, Amazon AWS for that, and after 1 year you can no longer get your free trial expires, so it starts charging you. So I switched to a local DB, which is less flexible really, but it's free. So there we go, that's the basic data stored in DB now. Next thing I'll want to do is have an idea of the pages I want on my website. So I've actually pre-filled that already, and you choose the name of the page, the path that will follow the URL, that'll be part of the URL, sorry, and then the page type. So I've got 6 different page types, and I'll display each of those. Can't run the SQL that's generated just yet because some of these require some context, and I know already from the content that this one can be called drinksmenu.pdf, but I'll need the context for 2 others. So these are the 2 that will need context, menu and story. So let's just fill in some stuff. Summer menu, that's English, and then starters, mains, desserts, We'll give some options for this one. Okay, so with that in mind, it should have generated a nice SQL query for us to run again. So we'll do that, and we'll run that, and we get the ID of our menu, 23. Plug that back into the pages. And the other spot that requires a context is the story. And so I have the content, the images for the story already pre-prepared. So I just want to put those file names in. We can put whatever text. I'll do. And that also creates a nice SQL query. We've got some lorem ipsum as well for the other one to have a bit more of a paragraph. So start ready 7. And that's everything from the Google Sheet. So I can run this query now to set the pages. So that should give us all the data now in the database for our new website. That's cool. And now we can go to the service. So if we go to the home page of the service, I've already launched it. We get the documentation using Swagger. So you can see all of the different APIs that we've got and how they're sorted. So this will show us all of the APIs that we'll need for this restaurant. Spring 14. And here we can see that, yep, we've got the pages, we've got the info, we've got the menu, we've got a story. And if we've got multiple menus or multiple stories, they'll show multiple times. So those are all the APIs that would get called on that particular website. So now if we go to, the website code, which is using the Create React app, then we can see at present we're not calling the APIs for this new restaurant. We're using whatever's currently configured, which is an old website that I made. But if we change the restaurant ID over and save it, it'll start to try to bring in, the Warsaw. You can see, there you go, Warsaw details, Warsaw train station, and these links. But there's not everything quite right at the moment. And the reason it's not quite right is because some of the content is missing. So we want to configure everything and not just the restaurant ID, because there's other configuration available, and we want the content in place. I'll start out with the content, and that comes from this script, as I mentioned, which will also load the API into local storage. So what we'll see is, if I just open up the network panel, if I go to the menu page, it's currently making an API call to the local host to get the data. Yep, so that's this localhost 2848. That's the local instance of our restaurant service. But if we run the builder, which is configured to now restaurant ID 14, then it will clear out the public folder of all the APIs for the previous restaurant ID and load in the new data along with any images. So we'll just do that. Here you get a run through of what it's doing. So it clears out these directories, copies the content that's inside this public directory, and then it also handles some details around the gallery, and it saves back the configuration so we can re-access it later. Okay, so that's done. So now if we go back to the website, we do Control F5 to force the reload. Yeah, we can see that we've got all the new data now. So we've got our new background, our new font. No, not our new font yet. We will get to that. We've got the menu. Now we've got the drinks PDF file. We've got the gallery with some photos. Got the embedded Instagram feed, which actually exists. I'll take you to the app if you were to open this in mobile. And then this is the story. Okay, so the other configuration we need to do is, well, yeah, I'll just configure it. So the code is Warsaw, language is English. Yeah, we don't want Do Brazil there. We'll set the font size to 100%. And yeah, we want to select a font. Oops. So we'll just pick something from here that's fairly identifiable. That'll do. We'll add it in, and then we just want to copy this part. Put that in there. That's fine. And also make that the same as what we've got stored. It's not very important though. And then the navigation type I'll come back to later. So this is all the configuration we need for the moment, but the font family won't be running straight away. We'll need to do a reload of that. Sorry, we need to rerun the builder because it generates a CSS file. I think that's mentioned somewhere. Yeah, here we go, font.css, populate this file. Anyway, that should be done, so we should have our new font there next time we refresh. There we go, new font. So that's really pretty much it. The website's configured. It looks to be working fine. Oh yeah, I wanted to show that we're no longer hitting the API. So the menu page. Yeah, nothing's coming from localhost 2848. It's all coming from localhost 3000, which is the front end. So that's good. And yeah, what's left to do? Well, we want to publish the website. I think that's pretty much it, really. So then we'll come into Sigwin, which is where I'm running the website from, and npm run was doing it before. Sorry, npm serve, I think. And if I do npm run build, it's going to make an optimized build of the website, including a sort of static generation of the pages in such a way that they can be crawled. So this will take 30 seconds or so. And anyway, when it's done, we're going to put that on the same place that I host the website. So I'll start getting that ready. so that's done. So now this public folder, this build folder is what contains the whole optimized build of the website. So I'm just going to rename this folder to Warsaw and then upload it. Yeah, and just to note, this menu PDF is 6 megabytes, but all the images that I've uploaded, I've used paint.net to compress them down to a smaller size, whilst also having a decent quality, so that the website will be served faster. When this is done, I'll just go into the subdomains. And I just want to add a new subdomain. Awesome. .shaymatthew.fr. Okay, that's been added. Where is it? Here. So now I just need to make sure that goes to the right place. It's probably this edit here. Yeah. Show content from Warsaw. Save. Now I'm not sure if that's going to be uploaded directly. Oh, sorry, available immediately. It could take a little bit of time, just check. Okay, so it's immediately available, which is good. And there we go. That's it. Setup done. There's a few more things I think are worth pointing out. I'll just close these parts and stick to the front end, the local front end. So I personally don't like this style. It's not my favorite. I've created 3 style templates that can just be configured, and those are the navigation types. So if I just change that to navigation type 2, and I also have to change the CSS for navigation type 2. Then with that, it switches to a about menu where you can access like this. Looks less good on desktop view, but if I again open up the DevTools, I can switch to mobile phone view. How do I move this to the side? There we go. Yeah, so with the div panel on the side, Pixel 2 XL, hit that, you go to the home page. You can see that the styling is different as well. It's a bit nicer on a phone to have it like this. The Instagram feed is using a third-party app, so that's possibly why it's taken a little while to load. Yeah, and you can see it's scrolling up and down like this. I typically try and view it on the smallest size, which I think was the iPhone 5, so you can see how it wraps. But yeah, and then other things that can be done is configuring the color. So if I wanted instead to have a red bar, that would look pretty nasty, but you can see. And then the text color everywhere, if I wanted that to say be lime green, no, well, cyan, I can't remember. Then it should change it, yeah, up here as well, like that. everywhere. The text is horrible blue. Well, not on the drinks page, but oh yeah, and that's another thing. We know that we can't display a PDF on mobile, so we just have this download PDF button. And that's pretty much it, really. I'll also show the other style. So I think that one's quite nice too. Style 1 is my least favourite, really. But yeah, style 3 doesn't look very good on mobile, but does look quite nice on desktop. So I could change the style depending on the size of the screen. That's what I do with the fact that this snaps to the side, so it's like slightly responsive in that sense. Yeah, there you can see if the screen size changes, you don't get these margins. Anyway, that's it. Looks like I'm out of time.